Good morning. This is Nina Scher, Hunt Real Estate. We're here today at my house in Del Mar with Larry from Hudson Valley Organic Pest Control. And Larry has helped me over the years with many of our pest problems. And he's a great resource. And so he's going to be answering some of your questions that you've already asked. Good morning, Larry.
Good morning, Nina. It's a pleasure to be here. And with the warm weather just about to invade the capital district here, I think it's important to know that the insects will all. Any questions you have?
Great. Okay, well, let's start. Toby's question is how to combat moles.
The moles are already out. Although it's Friday, April 8th, I've seen quite a few lawns with moles on it. A lot of people mistake moles for another critter that's crawling through their yard and making holes or even trails called voles, and that's spelled V-O-L-E-S. But you can know if you have moles because there's an old saying, don't make a mountain out of a molehill. When you start to see piles of dirt on your front lawn, you've got moles. When you just see trails through the grass or just holes, it could be either the voles or it could be even chipmunks. Chipmunks are starting to come out. But to combat moles, moles like to eat grubs. And there is a product on the market that's actually a rubber grub. It's one of the products is called Talpirid, T-A-L-P-I-R-I-D. And you can buy Talpirid on the internet, I believe. What they are is they'll come in a box. They look just like night crawlers. And you can actually cut these up into thirds or even half. And if you drop it in the holes near the molehills, or even
Okay, I think we had a little technical difficulty. I hope that we are still live. If anyone is watching, please go ahead and comment. Okay, keep going, Larry. I hope you remembered where we left off.
Moles. So that's, and do you do that as part of your services for people, or is that something that we need to do ourselves?
Hudson Valley Organic Pest Control is into helping people. If we can help people by giving them information where they can do it themselves and save themselves some money, we will recommend, go online and purchase this product, and you can do it yourself, save yourself quite a bit of money. Most often with moles, I don't know a lot of pest control companies that actually will come out and do moles. For the simple reason is some people have them so bad, there's so many molehills, it's very time consuming, and it could be very expensive for a pest control company to come out here every week to their homes and to keep treating. So it is something that I would recommend that people do themselves. If you do hire a landscape company which takes care of your lawn, I understand that after it's treated for a few years, it will get rid of the grubs, and therefore the moles will reduce. But like I said, you can order a product online and order these rubber grubs, and it will eliminate the moles.
That's great. That's really great. Thank you. Okay, Carol wrote, for the first time last year, we had a terrible bee infestation that built a nest inside the fireplace vent, and we're coming into the house. Would you ask Larry what the chances are they will come back to the same spot this year and what we can do to make sure they don't?
Understand there's different kinds of bees and wasps. It really would depend on what kind it was. Carpenter bees, for example, will use the same places to dwell each year. When I see the paper wasps, the wasps that are the nests that look like waffles, so to speak, most often they are not reused. But as far as going in and out of a foundation or a fireplace wall or even under the siding, most often it's been my experience that they do not use the same place every year. It would be a good idea if there's a hole in the fireplace outside or even inside to caulk that so that it's not tried to be used again by bees. But to answer that question, most often bees will not use the same in and out every year unless it's a honeybee infestation. you know, what that's in the wall or something.
Okay.
I hope that answers your question.
Okay, so Carol has joined us, and hopefully Carol just heard the answer to her question.
Hi, Carol. Thanks for tuning in, and hopefully you got some good information from Larry. Wendy wants to know if putting gravel or pebbles around the perimeter of the foundation deters pests.
It's a very good question. Talking to different people who are in construction, I know a lot of builders today recommend to people, as opposed to putting mulch all around your house right against the foundation, it is more wise to put stone or pebbles around the foundation, you know, anywhere from 18 to 24 inches, and that certainly will help to deter pests.
Great.
The mulch itself, you know, a lot of times I'll see people who get a truckload of mulch delivered to their driveway, and then they're going to put it all around their house. A lot of times people don't understand, but the mulch can have quite a bit of insects in it. And so a lot of times when I'll see a pile of mulch on somebody's driveway, a week later or so, I'll get a call, you know, I've got ants all around my house, and I'll say, well, how long ago did you put the mulch around? They'll say, well, I did that about a week ago too. And so you want to be careful to put anything around your house that's got insects in it, but it certainly is a good idea. I would recommend to put stone around the foundation for 18 to 24 inches as opposed to mulch itself.
Great. I'm learning a lot of new things here today that will be helpful. Leslie wants to know why woodpeckers are drilling holes in her house and what's attracting them.
That's a real good question. Woodpeckers love to eat insects. They love to eat larvae from different bugs. Woodpeckers, in regards to carpenter bees, which will drill a half-inch, quarter-inch hole in people's fascia boards on their decks, a lot of times the carpenter bee will notice, or the woodpecker will notice the carpenter bee holes, and they love to eat the larvae. And so a woodpecker will go to the carpenter bee hole looking for insects. However, the carpenter bee tunnels to the left or right once they make that hole on the outside surface. So the woodpecker's got to try to find, in a particular fascia board or a piece of board on a deck or whatever, they got to try to find that larvae. So they'll start with that hole and start pecking to the left and to the right. They'll make a total mess of the fascia board, so to the point where it has to be, you know, filled with putty, or it has to be replaced and repainted. And that's basically why woodpeckers will do that. They're looking for insects. They're looking for grubs. The woodpeckers love to feast on the carpenter bee larvae. Hopefully that answers your question, Leslie.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
So, I've had over the years carpenter bee issues. So could you talk a little bit more about
Sure.
what you do to help me with that?
Yeah, one of the first bees out for the summer are the carpenter bees. As a matter of fact, over the next few days, I know on Sunday, Sunday, April 10th, it's going to be in the 60s. Monday, the 11th, is going to be in the 70s, and then Tuesday is going to be in the 80s. So you may want to start looking for the carpenter bees to start coming out. Carpenter bees look very similar to a bumblebee. However, they're a little bit more blackish than the bumblebees are. Bumblebees have quite a bit of yellow on them. Carpenter bees also have some yellow fur on them, but it's not as much as the bumblebee. But they're roughly the same size. The characteristic of the carpenter bee, though, is they like to drill into wood surfaces. Most often, they prefer wood surfaces that are raw wood, not something that's got a thick coat of paint on it or some new stain on it. They like raw wood surfaces, sometimes a picnic table. Sometimes people get them on their deck or their fascia board. Some people get them in their siding. But once they drill that hole, they do tunnel to the left or the right. The female goes in there and hatches her larvae. The male likes to hover outside the hole. It's almost like he's guarding the hole. And he will be very aggressive when people come near the hole, even to the point where they will dart towards you. However, the male carpenter bee does not sting. The female can sting, but very rarely does she sting. As a matter of fact, in 12 years of doing pest control, never heard of anyone that's been stung by a carpenter bee, male or female. But once they get in the hole and tunnel, they'll hatch their eggs in 5 to 7 weeks. You know, the eggs turn to larvae. The larvae will become an adult. Okay, and but like I said, the one deterrent or the one bad thing about the carpenter bees is not only are they drilling into your wood, but they will draw the woodpeckers.
Right.
And as far as treating them, the best way to treat carpenter bees is to actually treat the holes themselves. I can remember years ago having a house that had over 100 holes on the house itself, and we had to, me and my partner Mark, we had to treat every single hole. But sure enough, it wiped out all the carpenter bees. Now, a lot of people, after you treat it, bees will come back and try to use those holes or those tunnels the following year. You can fill in the hole with wood putty. Some people will use steel wool because carpenter bees won't chew through steel wool. And if you do put up, what we like to do is apply an insecticide. Either a dust will puff into the hole, or a spray that has pyrethrum in it, which will kill them. And I know personally at my own house, when I've had carpenter bees and I treated the holes themselves, each year they'll come back to the holes, but I'll always see them dead on the ground. So a lot of times that product will last for quite a while, you know. But we do recommend you get it treated each year if you get carpenter bee holes. The best thing to do is to stay on top of it, because some people will, you know, once carpenter bees invade an area, you know, you can get swarms of them where people are afraid to come into the entrance of your house or whatever because they got these aggressive males that are darting at you.
Yeah.
But,
well, I have to say, you've been very successful in treating our carpenter bee problems. So, because we've had it maybe a couple of times, but once you've been here, they've moved to a different area at least, and we haven't had it in a while. So,
well, that's good.
Great.
A lot of times, I'll show you an example of the half-inch diameter hole that they make. Here's one here. Now, most often, the carpenter bee will not drill into paint. This was a few years ago. I don't remember if this was painted or not. I'm sure it was. But most often, they prefer raw wood. You know, a picnic table, a deck that hasn't been treated recently. But a lot of times, you know, the wood would have to be thick enough where they can tunnel to the left and to the right. Okay. But I remember with these holes, we treated with the organic dust that we had, which had pyrethrum in it. Pyrethrum is a substance that's in the chrysanthemum flower. Because we're organic, we try to use organic products whenever possible. People feel a lot more comfortable with that as opposed to using just chemicals. You know?
Right, that's how I found you the first time.
Well, we appreciate you did. You've been a great resource, Nina. There's telephone, telegraph, and Nina. I mean, she's been very helpful in getting us quite a bit of business.
So can you talk about the tick problem? Is there anything you can do about ticks?
One of the biggest problems during the summer, and I certainly understand, you know, there's a lot of deer running around. And
especially in Bethlehem, we're overrun.
Yeah, deer and mice and a lot of small animals, they carry ticks. It's disappointing to go to a lot of people's homes and find out that somebody in the family has Lyme disease. And so one of the ways to combat Lyme disease is to treat your lawn with a product that will wipe out the ticks. A lot of moms, are afraid to let their kids out in their yards sometimes in the spring or summer. They're afraid to let their pets out. They're fearful that they're going to have ticks on them. And so what we do is we will spray a yard. We'll spray the shrubs. We'll spray the lawn, the shrubs, and the tree bases with a cedar oil. And you know, we'll power spray the lawn. We'll put it on pretty thick to the point where it wipes out all the ticks. And for the most part, it wipes out fleas. And a lot of instances, for 30 days, once we apply it, people won't get too many mosquitoes either.
Wow. So and it doesn't kill the grass?
No, it doesn't harm the grass at all. You know, it's an organic product, and you know, it usually dries 15 minutes after we put it on, and you know, you don't have to chase people out of your yard or whatever, you know.
Wow.
Is there a certain time of year when it's best to apply that, and how does it affect when you put down your normal fertilizer?
Well, as far as you know, ticks come out usually. Well, we've already seen them out. We've had some warm days in March, and people were already calling us for ticks. And so they like to come out as soon as it gets warm out. There's usually another heavy infestation of them towards the fall. Most often, though, when we treat people for ticks, I would have to say 95% of the people that we treat their lawns with cedar oil, it satisfies them of getting no ticks for the rest of the summer. I mean, there are people, the other 5% will do a couple of treatments. A lot of it depends on the weather. You know, if you got a heavy rain season, people may want to do 2 treatments over the summer, but most of our customers just do 1 treatment. And every year we get more and more people calling us about this problem.
Yeah, I'm going to say, I didn't know you could do that, so sign me up. I'm on for that. Yeah.
Yeah, there is quite a, I mean, Columbia County, I know, is got a heavy deer infestation, and so there's a lot of ticks. I was reading online myself that, you know, 1 adult deer could have up to 1,000 ticks on it, which blows my mind.
Wow.
You know, I know the other day, you know, we were looking out in my backyard, and you know, there was like 5 deer out in my yard, and I'm thinking, geez, don't drop any, you know. So anyway, but it is a good idea, you know, if you want to help protect your family from possible Lyme disease, because you know, ticks are a big cause of that. To treat your lawn, and you know, it gives you peace of mind knowing that you can let your kids or your pets out in your yard, and that, you know, ticks have been combated. You know.
That's really great information. I'm really glad we talked about that today.
I appreciate you letting me talk about that. And you know, our company, we've been really blessed over 12 years. We seem to grow every year, and it's because a lot of people like Nina who keep referring to us.
Well, very satisfied customer, and I really thank you so much for taking the time to come and educate everybody who's watching today, and we appreciate it.
And Larry, how can people get a hold of you?
We do have a website, Hudson Valley Organic Pest Control, and our office number is 518-477-4191.
Thank you so much, and that's it for today.
All right, thanks, Nina. Thanks, Leslie.
Thank you.
You guys have a great day.
Thank you.
Okay.
You too.